Hello everyone and welcome to an introduction to PIDP 3250, the Instructional Strategies course. In this course, what we'd like you to be able to do by the end of it is to use a number of different instructional strategies. A lot of them will be collaborative strategies where you'll work with other groups of people to learn things, and you'll be able to use these things in your teaching. Things like Think, Pair, Share, structured academic controversy, jigsaws, and a number of other techniques, as well as things like case studies, field trips, all those kinds of things, and have a really good idea about how to carry out those in your own classroom in a very practical way. We'll also look at the whole topic of motivation and how we can help motivate students. Buckminster Fuller, the inventor of the geodesic dome, said that there is no such thing as a lazy person, just discouraged people. So he thinks that when people are not motivated, it's not because they're lazy, it's because they're discouraged. I know a few people that make me wonder about that, but at the same time I think he is on to something. And so we'll look at ways that we can encourage people to learn and motivate them. We'll also look at how to handle difficult students and how to manage classrooms. When you're working with a bunch of adult learners, you'll find that some people are difficult. It can be that they're the know-it-all in the class, or the class bully, or people who are just not with it, people who really don't care and just don't engage in the class. So whatever the problem is, we'll look at some different techniques that you can use to handle those people that always come late or always leave early or are always on their cell phone or they're texting their friends and all those kinds of things. We'll look at how to handle those kinds of difficult behaviors. We'll also look at how to help students learn how to learn. There are good and bad ways to learn how to study, and just as there are good and bad ways to drive or to cook or to do all kinds of things, learning there are some really effective ways to learn and some really ineffective ways of learning, and so we'll look at how to do those things, like the SQ4R method of studying, how to take notes using the Cornell method of note taking, and so on, those kinds of things. We'll also look at how to help students to think critically, creatively, and metacognitively. One of the real problems we have in the world is that there are a lot of people who just don't think critically. That's how we get some of the governments elected that we have, is because people aren't good critical thinkers. We also find that adults are not necessarily the most creative group in the world. Little kids are highly creative when they're 4 years old, highly off the scales in terms of creativity. But by the time they're finished grade 2, it's fallen from about 95% of them being highly creative down to less than 20% are still highly creative. By the time they're adults, it's less than that. And so what we want to do is help people to learn to bring back some of that creativity in their lives. We also want them to think about their thinking, which is what metacognition is all about, and to look at their reasoning and their thinking and see whether or not it's effective. So we'll look at metacognitive structures that they can use. We'll also look at using professional and respectful communication skills and how we can model that in the classroom and how we can help students to use it in their work. The assignments for this course consist of 4 things. The first is an instructional strategies project and report. What students will do is take 1 or 2, depending on the size of the project. They'll take 1 or 2 of these instructional strategies and they'll actually demonstrate how to do these things in class. They'll also write up examples of how you might use it in different fields, and they'll do a report on the whole project that they did. Another one is an essay on motivation, where they'll look at the whole topic of motivation and come up with a plan how they might motivate their own students. What kinds of things could they do with a particular group of students that they teach or will teach? What kinds of things could they do to make sure that those students really get excited about what they're doing and are highly motivated? We'll also ask people to do a case study and a report on classroom management. That could be done in a number of ways. It may be through interviewing instructors, it may be through watching certain videotapes and so on, but there's a lot of ways that you could do that. But we'd like you to do a report on some techniques for classroom management. And the fourth one is a journal. Throughout the course, we'll be giving you different journal stems, and we'll be asking you to complete those journals using those stems or those ideas. and reflect on the things that you're learning in the program. So those are the 4 assignments. The course textbook is Student Engagement Techniques. It's a handbook for college faculty by Elizabeth Barkley. Dr. Barkley has done an absolutely terrific job on this particular book. It's just really well done. She's done a lot of work with Patricia Cross and Tom Angelo, and she's really done a great job of coming up with some really good content for this particular book. She talks about the theory behind active involvement in learning. She talks about the double helix model, where she says that, as in the double helix, when you look at chromosomes and so on, you know, the double coil. Well, she says that there's 2 strands in this double coil in education. One is active learning and the other is motivation. The 2 are all very much entwined with each other. And I like that particular model. It seems to make an awful lot of sense, because when students are really actively learning, they also become highly motivated and engaged. She has in this book 50 tips for getting students involved in learning, and 50 active teaching strategies. And those are things like field trips, case studies, role plays, team concept maps, structured academic controversies, ethical dilemmas, and a whole bunch of others. And so there's all kinds of ideas there, and it'll give you a chance to really pick up a number of techniques that you can use in your own teaching. She explains very clearly how to do each of these techniques and how to adapt them for online instruction, which is something that will be very useful for those of you who teach online. There's another book that's useful in this course. It's not required, but it's one that you might want to look at. If you're taking 32 to 30 before this course, you'll actually have already bought it, because it's one of the required textbooks for that course. But if you're going to be taking that after this course, you could still buy it now, and it would be useful for this course as well. Classroom Assessment Techniques. It helps you to find techniques that you can use to check out whether or not your students are actually learning the material as you're going through it. So it's a very useful book as well. Course activities. In this course, you're going to be doing a whole bunch of things. One of the things is interactive lectures. We'll be talking about things, and you'll be very actively involved in those lectures, in group discussions, collaborative learning projects, guest speakers, case studies, role plays, journal reflections, and class presentations, and others. Depending on who's teaching it, there can be a number of these involved. You'll have a chance to learn how to be really effective in doing things like demonstrations and interactive lectures, things like that. One-on-one demonstrations. Many of the students say that this is one of the most interesting courses in the whole program, because they learn some really practical skills, how they can work individually with students, how they can get students working in projects that are really exciting, and in class discussions and so on. So I think you'll find the whole course extremely interesting. Some of you have done some cooperative learning techniques in the past. This will spend a lot of time talking about how students can get together and work collaboratively in groups to learn. And the reason we stress that so much is because none of us is as smart as all of us. When we get a group of people together, the synergy of ideas and so on is really powerful, and it can be very, very helpful. Some of you teach very large courses, and we'll be talking about some techniques that you can use in large groups instruction as well. So anyway, all of these things I think you're going to find extremely interesting, and enjoy the course. Thank you.